And welcome back to the Pro Football Pod. We got the boys trying to dance in rhythm. Looks like players are already getting taken out for the Seahawks. Is that Jamal Adams getting hurt again? Number 33, right?
Yeah,
No way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just saw him walking in the
but-
tunnel. That is not
Really?
ideal. That is not
No
ideal.
way. Dude just came back.
Just came back. Well,
Looking like a concussion, possibly.
Yeah, that's what it looked like based off how he was walking. That man was
That's
wobbling and just looking off in the
insane,
distance.
bro. Like, what? You just got back. Well,
On a-
prayers up for Jamal.
On a positive note, I think Kenneth Walker might just walk away with the touchdown because of skipping off the tackle. Nope, they didn't come away with it.
All right.
Take that back.
You know, this was a good week. It was a good fantasy week.
Hell
it
yeah.
was. So people finally
Lots of
took a step
players.
up. Justin Fields, we're talking about you. I don't think that. I think that we have to take some of what happened this week with a grain of salt because we've been waiting for some of these guys for so long. Showed us something, but that doesn't mean that we believe in them again. Like if they haven't been producing to this point, like we're definitely still keeping an eye on stuff.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
that rolls a lot into like who I want for the waivers this week as well.
I want to know how many people Fields was on the bench for. Because a lot, and we even said it like on the Friday show. Like I would have benched Fields. I don't care if it was the Broncos. Like, I mean, and most fantasy guys still had him in their top 10, but for me, I was just like, I mean, I'm not seeing it.
Nope. I
And
would wanted to
he
wait and
just
see. It was a
he
safer play.
dominated, at least in the first half. It was awesome. So he scored a lot of points on a lot of people's bench this last week.
Which makes it even harder to start him next week because it's like, well, they just did that against the Broncos, who were historically bad on defense the week before. So we're not expecting a full turnaround from them. It's one of those situations where I feel like at this point in the year, we're not really looking at like what players do we want to have as much as we're looking about what offenses do I want to be a part of? What teams do I want to grab at least one piece from that offense? Because if someone goes down, then they're the next man up. And we know that the offense is successful no matter who's on the field.
Well, that's what Justin was talking about, I think, last podcast with the garbage team. Like collecting players from all those teams who are just scrappy and
Garbage
fighting.
time,
Yeah,
not garbage team.
No, but you create the garbage team from the garbage time they
Correct.
receive.
They're just a bunch of trash cans.
I got what you mean, brother. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I love garbage time teams. Like they're the best.
Chargers, Vikings,
we called the Texans a garbage time team, and they
they're
played a
looking
full.
like it.
They were a full game team. That they were
Yeah,
looking like
true.
a legit squad this last week. And I mean, we even said like the Steelers were on upset alert just because of how they've been looking and how CJ Stroud has been looking. And man, I'll tell you what, like CJ Stroud, he is looking ripe. Like he's looking very, very good in his
1,200 yards with 0 interceptions. That's insane.
Almost like he should have been taken first overall, like I was saying. But
I mean, I'm gonna agree with you a little bit, Austin, and that brings me to one of my points that I want to make on this episode. I think that with how good the Houston offense has looked, that one of the teams that I'm looking to try to pick up a couple players on, because almost all of them are available, are receivers that play for the Panthers. I think that the second half of the season, Bryce Young will be able to take a bit of a leap. That Frank Reich offense is going to gain some steam. So right now, Anthony Richardson and CJ Stroud have been performing so well that I think that everyone's forgetting about Bryce, and he was the number one prospect. I don't want people to forget that.
Well, and we'll obviously touch into what happened in the Dolphins game and that just embarrassing showing that defense put on. But you don't want to keep comparing and throwing out Tua every episode. But I mean, I see a lot of correlation with Bryce, Anthony Richardson, and CJ Stroud that I saw with Tua, Burrow, and Herbert. You've got the 2 out of the 3 are balling and looking really solid and kind of giving you what you expected them to give you. And you've got the 1, the smaller one in stature, the one that's looking like, you need to develop more of a system for him. And so, yes, he's going to get shit on a lot this season and even in the off season if he doesn't perform well. But after Tua, I'm on a 3-year shelf life with any rookie quarterback that comes in. I don't care what you look like your first 2 seasons. I want to look at your first 3, and that gives me more of an idea of where you're at. Now, if you get a guy that comes out of the gates and he struggles the first 3 years and you see no improvement, that's probably who he is.
Which roster would you prefer to play for? The one with Damian Pierce and Derek Stingley Jr. from last year's rookie class, or the one with Jonathan Taylor, that offensive line, Zaire Franklin, like that defense that they have? I think that the Panthers are the bottom roster of those 3 teams. So that's a lot of it too. CJ Stroud has people around him that are able to elevate him a little bit. He's obviously doing great. I'm not trying to take anything away from CJ. He looks like rookie of the year, but I think that we do need to give some time for Bryce, and that's why I'm willing to stash a guy like Terrace Marshall, Jonathan Mingo. I picked up last week because I knew that he might play, and I knew that if he didn't play, he's the number 1 target, and nobody really is looking at him. So I think that those types of plays are the ones that can work out for you. A few years ago, I was able to do a similar thing with Amon Ra, and then from that point forward, he was an every week starter on my team because he was going to be that on anybody's team. And you just have to find those players before they pop.
I just don't know if the Carolina Panthers have the athletic ability to be those type of players, but we'll see.
That's a huge question.
I do agree with what you said, like with Houston's offense and their weapons. Like Brevin Jordan, their tight end, is a monster, and he's really.
And they have Dalton.
At. Yeah, and they
have
also
Schultz
have Dalton
too.
Schultz. But yeah, I think definitely the Colts would be the best offense to play for right now.
See, for me, I love what the Texans are doing. And we talked about it on Friday as well. Both of their offensive tackles were out this game, and they still were able to put up the numbers they put up on offense. And for me, you would have almost expected with a rookie quarterback coming in that Damian Pierce would be the talk of this offense, and that's just not the case. Like
Hank
CJ
Dell,
Stroud has made
Nico.
it to where Tank Dell, Nico Collins, and on a rainy day, Robert Woods, like all 3 guys are fantasy relevant. Dalton Schultz is starting to work in there a little more with how depleted tight ends are in fantasy. Like
Tank Dell did have a
love
bad
the
week.
Texans offense right now.
He did have an off week, but with how much targets he's had up until this point, he's still a solid pick. He should be rostered at 100%. I think that Robert Woods is another guy that I like for the waiver wire this week because he's still available. He has 31 targets. We just talked about how Puka Nacua has 39 targets in the first 4 weeks, 39 receptions, and that's a record. Robert Woods is putting up production. He's getting the targets. We want at least, 6 to 8 targets a week, and he's easily hitting that. So I think that he's a type of player. He's never going to get you 25. If he does it once all season. But he's not flashy, but he's definitely someone you can start and know he's not going to put up 2 or 2.4. So one thing that you did say, Austin, as far as like the receivers that play for the Colts, I'm not really interested in them. Josh Downs is someone I have on a dynasty, and in like super deep leagues, I think he has a lot of value. But I'm really scared of him as a player because AR isn't, his depth of target is the lowest in the league. He doesn't throw the ball very far. He runs it very well, and that's what their value is. So if you have AR, then you're awesome. But anybody else on that offense is a little bit scary from like a fantasy perspective.
Michael Pittman's still a dude, and I think that Jonathan Taylor is a better running back than Damian Pierce right now. But
I agree with that.
And their
agreed.
Defense is just a little bit better.
Is he going to play for them?
Yeah, we're going to find out more this week.
Yeah, that's what we're going to find out.
He's apparently set to return to practice on Wednesday, and coming off.
He
of
said
the
he's going to.
At So my whole thing is, does he play? Does he play out the rest of the year? But then you're having to deal with it again in the offseason. I personally, I don't think he plays for the Colts at all. It doesn't make sense for him, like health wise. It doesn't make sense for him financially. I would just
Well,
make
he
him
kind of
trade.
needs to for like market value. Like he already.
They've got film.
Yeah, I know they got
They've got
film, but
evaluations. They've got
he
they've got
also
their own
wants to
scout.
play football. Like he knows he kind of fucked up and like what he was doing, it didn't work out in his favor, and so like back to the drawing board type deal.
True, but then you come in, you blow out your knee, God forbid, and your trade value tanks, so they don't trade you.
So
Then at the end of the year, number one, they don't necessarily have to pay you, and number two, they are able to just go ahead and let you go because they're going to be able to negotiate a very small contract because you got hurt again.
What if you're able to put up a couple weeks of great film and then go into the trade block because it's not trading's still out there.
It's hard to play those
with.
what if games. I think that both of you guys have good points because if he gets hurt like he has the last 2 seasons, then he's never going to get paid. And at this point, if he doesn't go out and put up 6 or 8 weeks in a row of just being one of the top running backs in football, he's not going to get Austin Eckler money. Like, Austin Eckler's on track to actually get paid, even with this ankle injury, by somebody. But he's the only one. Everyone else got hurt this year. Saquon dealing with what he's dealing with, that looks more severe to me than Eckler. Eckler's seems like a fake injury, if we're being real. It seems like he's just negotiating. It's early in the season. They've got a couple losses. Did he get put on IR, or has he been week to week this whole time?
He's been week to week, and I think somewhat of what you're saying I do agree with, to where he may not necessarily be injured more than he is hurt, but because of his contract situation and yeah, I mean, they've kind of figured it out in this offseason, at least for this year, but I do agree that he's not necessarily willing to play hurt because of his future. So, I mean, like I said, there is a lot of what ifs to it, but even from the team aspect of you got to protect your asset, you can't necessarily try to ask for the world in a trade for Jonathan Taylor and then also put him out there on the field, because if something happens to him, there goes also any negotiating power you have.
The tricky spot.
It is. It's they're gonna have to balance the scales on this one. Now, talking of players and their futures, do you guys think the Falcons' future really is Desmond Ridder, or do they look elsewhere immediately? I mean, we've got Malik Willis and Will Levis. Were both drafted like 2nd or 3rd round this year, and could be potential, value for the Falcons to trade for. Even, I mean, they've got a lot of pieces that are relying on the quarterback position. It's crazy that they've won 2 games to me, because Caleb Williams is the answer to all of their problems.
Mm-hmm.
If they were the worst team in football,
a lot of people's problems. Like, as of right now, if the NFL season were to end today because of the trade in the draft last year, the Bears would own the number 1 and number 2 overall pick. You go ahead and draft Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison Jr., trade Justin Fields to somebody, and you restart that franchise. Like, so
it sucks. That sucks.
For the Falcons,
that's
to
where
me,
they're gonna go.
I feel like they are going to end up winning too many games to put them out of the Caleb Williams stratosphere. But no, Desmond Ridder is absolutely not the answer. I just don't see it out of him. Like, he's got gamesmanship to him, and he's got a little bit of, dog to him, but he just doesn't scream like, hey, I can win you some games.
Now, do you guys think...
He didn't even look good as a Toy Story character.
Which Trevor Lawrence looked damn good running that ball as a Toy Story character. And whoever that pick 6 was too, awesome. Dude, hilarious. The best part was the halftime show, but just like the Slinky Dog and all the little...
Bro, man. If you got a penalty, the Slinky Dog backs his booty up. It's so cool.
Now, talking about the Falcons, Kyle Pitts has been a massive disappointment, and Jonnu Smith is a top 10 fantasy tight end, and they play on the same team. So, is there a point of like, it's Kyle Pitts, or like, are we thinking that it's 100% Desmond Ridder? He's at least able to get the ball to Jonnu. So, like, what do we think?
I think it's a little bit of everything. I think it's Desmond Ridder. I think it's the play calling. I think it's the way they just don't try to feature Kyle Pitts at all. This is a guy who should be averaging 8 targets a game at minimum, and he's looking at 4. And in a game to where Jonnu Smith gets 7, and that just should not happen. Like, for as much as I like Jonnu Smith and for athletic as he is, that should not happen. So for me, as a Kyle Pitts owner, it's like I'd love to trade him, but like, what are you even going to get back in a trade for him at this point right now? Like, it's almost like you just have to sit on him, wait for 1 week to where he explodes, and it's like, oh my God, did they fix it? And then you try to trade him and get out from underneath it. Because even if they do try to fix it a little bit, it's at this point, it's like, do I really want that headache every week of wondering? Because I have Jake Ferguson on my team, and at this point, I'm gonna start him over Kyle Pitts. As much as I hate to say it, Dak just targets him and gets him the ball more consistently.
I've got another name for you. Damn, I just had another name for you.
Last week we said Luke Musgrave, and he put up one.
Yeah,
he got taken out.
And he got hurt.
Sure.
Yeah, he got hurt.
Yeah.
So that is what it is.
Still, he
Bears
would still be
tight
a
end.
waiver wire target for me.
What Komet? Yeah. Would you guys start him now after the week that he had last week?
Just dropped him last week.
I was gonna say,
would you pick him up and start him?
Weeks,
yeah. Based off of how he was looking, is what I was expecting from the guy.
Based off how he looked versus the Broncos,
yep.
I think I roster him, but I keep him on the bench for another week or two just to see some more consistency to it. I don't want to, like I said, in a game versus the Broncos, the defense that just got 70 put on their head and then 28 in the first half put on them. I don't know how much I want to trust those metrics there. So
I thought the Bears were going to put up 60.
I'm waiting on that just one more week. But he is rosterable at this point, and like I'm with Austin, I dropped him a couple weeks ago because I just didn't see the value of him taking up a roster spot.
All the rookies
I dropped him after
better.
week 1. I played the Cole Kmet game last year and was unwilling, so I went out and picked up Freiermuth or Hunter Henry or somebody else like that, and I think that I agree with you, Justin. He is rosterable. I'm still not loving the prospect of having him as like my second tight end, though. So I would rather let somebody else pick him up and see what gets shaken out of the waiver tree this week. It's something that a lot of shows don't talk about, but people have held on to somebody for whatever reason throughout this entire season that has value on your team. And once they need another quarterback because theirs is on bye this week, that's your opportunity to get those players. These are the weeks. The real season just began. Week 5 of football is next week, so now's the time to really scour the boards and see what's fallen out of the tree, what's available to us, and grab some low hanging fruit.
Now
that brings me
because
to
we talked about Cole Kmet. They play Washington, and we're going to preview this game here in this episode. Just a little nudge into that preview where Cole Kmet plays Washington on Thursday night this week in Washington. Is that a startable matchup? Because you figure primetime on the road, safety blanket style for Justin Fields. Do you play him this week in the matchup? Or, in a situation like where you've got Kyle Pitts, are you starting Cole Kmet versus Washington this week on Thursday night? Or are you going to try to ride Kyle Pitts versus Houston? Because for me, in that I think I go Cole Kmet.
if it wasn't Thursday night. I don't like Thursday night games for fantasy.
Yeah.
The
Who do the
teams
Jets
just
play
don't
this week?
put up as much points.
The Jets have Denver this week. This is the Nathaniel Hackett, Sean Payton punch you in the mouth week.
Tyler Conklin is probably available in your league right now. I might look at doing that instead. Tyler Conklin got some good work last week with Zach, and I get that we're relying on Zach Wilson, but maybe if
Zach
Aaron
looked great.
Rodgers shows up to the game, then he'll look good. He'll be able to steal his energy or something. I don't
I've
know.
always been of the proponent of Zach has all the talent to get it done. It's just a matter of being able to trust his offensive line and locking it down between the ears
And executing.
because he's been pretty erratic. But for everything, you cannot say anything against him, at least for this week, because he looked great on
He looked
Sunday.
great.
He outperformed Patrick Mahomes in every metric except for rushing yards.
I hate how much Chris Collinsworth just had his penis in his mouth the whole time, but he did look great. Chris Collinsworth was going too. Look at how perfect he was on this drive.
I think it was more just in shock for him, the rest of us too, of holy hell, he put that ball right where it needed to be, or he made his correct read and it wasn't his first read. He bounced off of it, went to his second read, rolled out a little bit, got out of the pocket, made a laser throw. As a Jets fan, you're just praying you're seeing some type of progression, because that's the one thing with Aaron Rodgers going down that can try to keep your season alive, is if Zach Wilson can be some type of a serviceable quarterback. It was his best game he's played by far in his career. It was the most enjoyable game, even as a Dolphins fan, that I've watched Zach Wilson play, because he was actually making plays out there consistently. And, fighting for position, you want to see the Chiefs take a loss, and the Jets pushed them to the brink of that. So, hats off to the Jets and Zach Wilson for what they did last night, because that was awesome. The holding calls were abysmal.
I was going to say, I wanted to talk about that. That last one, wild. I have so much more respect for Robert Saleh now after watching him get that penalty whenever the game was over, because it was bullshit. And from Hard Knocks, he's been so quiet and so reserved. Everyone's saying he's a big puss, and I don't see it. That guy looks like a man. Get it.
I've heard people say that too, and I do not see that at all. He's one of my favorite coaches in the league. I would love to play for the man.
I liked him before Hard Knocks, and whenever, I think it was that first episode of Hard Knocks, I ended up texting a friend of mine, Jared, that's a Jets fan, and I was just like, bro, I really hate that Bob Saleh is y'all's head coach, because I love this guy. His passion for the game, the way he'll ride or die for his players like that, and hell, I'd have got a penalty too. You're playing against the defending world champs. You have them on the brink of defeat right there, and you're going to get just absolutely torched with a call like that.
In your home stadium.
If you watch it, the refs double clutching the flag on the 3rd and 22 play, you've got people are arguing about that on the outside against Jermaine Johnson, whether that was a hold or not. I personally think a hold probably should have been called. Anytime a quarterback scrambling around in the pocket like that long, and no defender is making a play on him, it's not an account of elite blocking. It's normally somebody is holding somewhere and a flag's getting thrown. But you saw a lot of it, and it's really hard to just not say oh, well, it's the Chiefs, the darling of the NFL. They're going to get those calls like the Patriots used to. And you hate to say it like that, but damn, dude, you just hated to see that's how the Jets, that's how it got taken away from them. Obviously they could have made more plays in the game, but it was abysmal. And the refs just, I'm surprised they got out of New York.
For real.
Dude, I think that one guy didn't. His face was plastered all over the TV. Everyone saw who made that mistake.
As soon as that clock hit 0, those refs bolted off of that field.
It's just the one team that we keep constantly seeing the refs play for. Like last year against the Bengals, like we saw those same types of calls not being called and shit like that. Like,
Well, I mean, there's even certain things too in the Dolphins game with the Bills. Like, and you see this every year. Like the darlings of the NFL, the top teams in the NFL, they get calls every year. And for whatever reason on the side, whether it's the commish in their ear talking about, hey, lean this one this way because this is what we need to see. Like, or that's just conspiracy tinfoil hat on that one. But there's too many things with these top teams to where it's just like, come on, dude. Like, how on earth, like, if the Jets all game, nothing got called on them like that. So that's my thing, is you just want to see it called fairly across the board.
That's what we want. The reality is that this is a product that the NFL owns, and the most profitable thing is what they're going to do every time. And that's having the better teams win, because winning...
Speaking on profits.
Yeah.
Taylor Swift? What the fuck? What's going on? What is going on there?
Whenever you sent that picture... Whenever you sent that picture of Taylor Swift as Travis Kelce's picture on Yahoo, like, I lost it. Oh, Sleeper, sorry. Yeah. I lost it, dude. Lost it. Like,
it's insane.
Everything is about Taylor. It's because she's so popular.
Or the Taylor Kelce. All the Taylor Swift style props for that game, like Travis Kelce 22-yard catch, or the Chiefs to win by 22. Or just these little different things. Like, it's just like, okay, bro, we get it. Like, we get it. All right.
What's stupid is all the people that took the Chiefs are going to win by 22 bet. You know what I mean? That's what's stupid, is that they made up so much money on that. Like, all the idiots out there.
I'm not going to lie. That looked like the best bet.
How mad were you that, like other people who took the Chiefs minus their 7.5 and Pat Mahomes slid down there right at the end?
Furious. I was actually
10-point victory.
Furious. I was watching it and I was like, what are you doing? The end zone's right there. You could have just walked in, and there's no chance that the Jets get the ball, score a touchdown, kick an onside kick, get the ball back from you, and then go kick a field goal just to tie it up from you. There's no way. There's no way. Like,
it's the smart...
No, it wasn't the smart thing.
Me and said Pat Mahomes is scum.
That wins you the game.
Like, bro... You were 1 foot away from the end zone. Like, you could... And the fact that he stood up and went like this, like, haha, motherfuckers, I just fucked 85% of the nation. Come on now.
Well,
85% of the money was on the Chiefs.
We've seen it happen. I remember vividly Brian Westbrook on a 50-yard breakaway run versus the Cowboys. And he went down at the 1-yard line and lost so many people their fantasy championships because he didn't score those extra 6 points. But that's what they don't care about. That they care about, hey,
winning their football game.
I can end this game right now. All I have to do is go down in bounds, and this game is over. We're going to the house.
And honestly, man, I agree with them. We're making all these bets on the game, but based off of what happens on the last play isn't why we won or lost our bet. It was so many other factors that we weren't able to take account for.
That's what I'm pissed at the Chiefs for. Like, why were they letting the Jets run down the field?
The Jets are a top 5
defense,
defense,
Mahomes
dude.
Throw 3 interceptions because he floats the ball out there trying to just literally Steph Curry that thing in there. Like,
yeah, for real. It was bad, man. And their defense is a top defense.
Did you watch? Mahomes will come out this next week for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns and play a flawless game.
But you don't know what receiver.
Oh my God!
He's
Do you know
to.
who he plays? He plays the Vikings in a 4 o'clock window.
There we go.
Oh my God.
He's going to torch
Can
their
you talk about like 750
Take all
yards?
of the Mahomes props this week.
Okay, so do you guys? We've talked about a couple of waiver wire as like we were going through the news. Do you guys have anybody that's like we haven't mentioned that's an absolute have to pick up this week?
Just going based off of like the Devin Achane, like obviously he's picked up in every league by now, but like great call. Shout out Achane. Shout out to you guys. Like that was great call over Javonte Williams. He got the hip flexor injury, but like A-Chain's that dude, bro. Y'all would need to be playing him. I said last week, like,
Oh,
He only
he's
he's
got
one of
8
the best
carries,
top
dude.
backs in the league right now, bro.
he's still absolutely, I think, going to be part of the offense moving forward.
Oh, yeah.
He's too
Oh,
effective
yeah.
not to be.
When you
And
see him lower
if
his
he
head and run
wasn't
through that line, it's something special.
if
Like,
he wasn't picked up last week, he absolutely will be picked up this week. He will be on 98% of rosters out there. And I mean, for me, call me crazy, but at this point, if CJ Stroud's not still out there, I'm looking at picking up Sam Howell as a stash play on my
he's doing it with his
especially in
legs.
Dynasty. Well, he's just I say it all the time, but it's because I'm all about it. It's consistency. And
He's been
even
doing it
in their
all year long.
losses, he's showing me just consistent play every week. And I mean, yeah, he struggled against the Bills, but we've seen the Bills up to this point. Their defense looks elite right now. Like, so, I mean,
Yep.
for me, like, I love what
Bro,
Sam Howell is
Milano's
showing me in
controlling
his
that
first
field.
year of actual game time. And I absolutely think he's worth the stash play on a roster out there, especially if you have a team with an Anthony Richardson, a Justin Fields, a Lamar Jackson, one of these running quarterbacks that have higher injury risks. Yeah, he's a great safety play.
I like that. I like that take. He's kind of like Josh Allen on his rookie year. Like, he's a big bodied white boy, just run down the field. He can pass it pretty decently. He's got good receivers to throw the ball to.
My thing too is his poise. Like, he doesn't look like he's got erraticness in his game to where even with the pressure in his face, he's kind of freaking out and just, looking to get the ball out somewhere and throwing a dirt ball 3 yards away. Like, he's standing in the pocket, he's taking shots in the mouth, he's making the correct reads. Like, everything that I've seen out of Sam Howell right now, for me, if I was a Commanders fan, I see nothing but hope. Like, not necessarily
rookie?
Yeah.
he was a rookie last year, but he didn't play until the last game of the season.
That's
But
right. That's right.
for me, it's not necessarily you found your franchise guy. Like, yes, he's the savior and we're good moving forward. But it's one of those to where, hey, we might have something here. So, like, let's try to build around this and see what we
Let's
got.
try to develop them a little bit because
Exactly.
everybody's getting better in the NFL. That's the reality. Aaron Rodgers had such a great career because every year he tried to add more facets or tighten up the things that he did great and make them elite, make him the best in the league at doing it. So these guys aren't supposed to come in and be amazing right away. That's why CJ Stroud being mistake free is such an amazing thing through 4 weeks. We know he's going to finish the year with 5 or 6 interceptions. Like, he's probably going to have 2 in one game. But the fact that he's able to throw for 300 yards a game on average and throw no interceptions, that's a hard thing to do at this level.
He reminds me a lot. He's just throwing for way more yardage, but he reminds me a lot of what we saw out of Dak's rookie year.
Okay.
He's just making efficient plays. He's making the correct plays.
He's a little smoother though. Like,
Yeah,
his balls, his spiral's a little tighter. Like, he's got like a Justin Herbert type arm. Like,
he's got a great arm on him, and he's another one to where it's the poise. Like, you're seeing these young guys come out and they're not as intimidated by the NFL pass rush. Like, yeah, it's an adjustment and they've got to get used to having 4 absolute monsters on the line instead of going up against a college team that might have 1 or 2 or maybe 3 depending on the league you're playing in. But for me, it's like, even Bryce Young, for as much as we've said, he shows poise. Like, I love the poise I see out of these young guys. And
he's the calmest looking quarterback in the league.
Stroud's efficiency
Which is
for
crazy.
me.
He's a rookie.
And like you mentioned, no interceptions. So he's not turning the ball over. He's not giving the opposing team free possessions, and that helps keep your team in it.
All right. He threw it in the first game of the year, bro. He threw an interception.
CJ Stroud has 0 interceptions.
He has the
It
most
must have been
consecutive
preseason,
passes without an
It must have been
interception.
preseason because he is.
It was like his first debut though of preseason, and he like threw a pick.
Yeah, CJ Stroud has, I believe it's like 151 passes without an
And so
interception.
from that moment, he got put down on the pedestal, but he's been proven he's up there now, rookie of the year type shit. Like,
He just beat a Mike Tomlin defense. Like,
I don't think that either of these waiver wire picks that I have are gonna win somebody a league. They're veterans that end up having fantasy relevance every year, but nobody ever wants them on their team because they're not the starter. They're not the number one guy. Nelson Aguilar and Latavius Murray have absolutely been solid on fantasy rosters for the last
That's
4 or 5 years.
gross. That's
And Nelson
gross that you just
Aguilar
said that.
is the second receiver behind Zay Flowers right now, with OBJ and Rashad Bateman being hurt.
Tough offense to get behind with a running back quarterback like that.
The running backs have been hurt too. So again,
no,
Nelson Aguilar is
like Lamar.
I feel that. And at the same time as Latavius Murray is the second running back on a team that doesn't run the ball very often. But he's shown that they like to score touchdowns with him, and he's been solid on the ground for them. I don't think that these guys we have to start them in any means, but if you're looking for someone to fill in on the bottom of your roster, someone that could end up being a starter in the next 4 to 6 weeks, then I think that those are two guys that are worth looking at. Nelson Aguilar more than Latavius Murray, just because, again, he's a big-time playmaker on a team he's got a big arm. Lamar likes to throw the ball deep. He just doesn't do it very often. He runs it too often to do that. So those are my last two, though.
Yeah, I like Nelson over Latavius just because for as effective as he's been, he's still very touchdown dependent.
Yep.
Like when he does get the ball, he looks effective, but the problem is like even in the blowout versus the Dolphins, he only had 4 carries and 2 receptions. So
now
6 touches.
If James Cooks goes down, then Latavius Murray becomes a top 15 guy at the position just because of the volume that he's going to get. Agreed. And that's my biggest thing you can't hold on to the number one waiver spot all year. So I spend a lot of time trying to figure out who's the guy to get the week before he's the guy to get. And I'm not saying that that's this time for Latavius, but he's someone I'm keeping an eye on. I'm going to keep an eye on James Cooks' health. And if he ends up dealing with a groin or a hamstring at any point this season, then I'm going to roster Latavius on at least one team. Just emergency running back.
So if you need a running back right now, Jaleel McLaughlin, Denver running back, replacing Javonte. He put up, solid 19 points last week. They're playing the Jets this week. So if you need a guy, like running back's tight, in this season.
I definitely wouldn't be starting him by any means.
It depends on what you need,
Like, remember they played the Bears last week. He got 19 points versus the Bears.
7 carries, 72 yards, 3 receptions, 32 yards, and a touchdown. Like, they used him. So, I mean, I do agree.
Sometimes you can find a diamond in the rough.
He's a sneaky waiver pick. If you're towards the bottom of your order, so you're not going to get those top guys, and you don't necessarily need to, I got to pick up a guy to start here. And, yeah, I do agree. He'd be a great, let's put him on the roster and see what he does this next week.
Okay, another position for streaming, the tight end position. Logan Thomas this week. Let's see, they play against
the Bears.
And they play on Thursday. And we've been saying, Thursday games are scary or whatever, but I think that this is one that's worth looking at least. Logan Thomas hasn't had a phenomenal season. He's only had 20 targets on the year. Maybe 15 with 10 receptions, 100 yards, and a touchdown. But he's definitely, for streaming options, if he's playing against the Bears, I mean, I think that that's what we look at for the rest of the year. If we can get someone playing against the Bears or the Broncos or Minnesota, that's what we're trying to stream. That's really what our eyes are on. So I think that he's probably going to have a mediocre week. But if you have to stream a tight end, I think Logan Thomas is a good one.
What do you guys think about defenses? Not many that are available that are sneaky snags, but the Lions
really hard this week
might be available, and they're 6% owned. So
streaming defenses this week. Let's take a look.
The Lions
off the top, I like Baltimore versus Pittsburgh.
but you're never going to get Baltimore. Baltimore's rostered in like
Honestly,
80%.
I
The Lions play Carolina.
sneaky play. I like the
Only
Jets
6%
versus
owned.
Denver. The
Yeah,
That's a
the
good
Jets,
Jets have been
call.
doing solid
after
on defense.
everything that was said this offseason about Nathaniel Hackett out of Sean Payton's mouth, the Jets, even with Rodgers going down, have not forgot it. And they're going into Denver, and I think they're coming in absolutely heated. And to me, it's one of those things to where kind of like that moment to where, it's kind of you're fighting, you're in friend group, right? And y'all are fighting another friend group, think outsider style. Well, the group you're fighting is pissed off because you said some shit and did them wrong, and it's only because one person in your friend group said it. So you as his friend is like, well, we're going to go into battle, but like, fuck, dude, like this is your fault. So that to me is what the Broncos are doing. It's like, yeah, we're going to ride for our coach, but like, damn, dude, did you really have to open your mouth? Because they're coming out for blood here. So like, I like the Jets as a sneaky play for the streaming this week.
Especially how the Broncos D has been looking. Like this could be Zach's game of the year. Like this is his time to shine.
Yeah.
And it's not a long travel for Aaron to go there either. So is it at the Broncos?
He likes Colorado.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Is
in
it- is it-
Denver. So then again, I don't know what that does, like the elevation does with like the inflation of like his injury and all of that kind of stuff. I'm not a elevation scientist, but so I don't think Aaron will be at that game. He might just kind of support Nathaniel if he can, but I don't think he will be.
Yeah. You definitely got to support Nathaniel Hackett there. That's his buddy.
And
Who
Houston
the
versus
Dolphins play this
Atlanta,
week?
the Giants.
You guys finally get a week off.
See,
That's
but nope,
not a
nope.
horrible streaming.
I was literally just looking at that, but damn, dude, with the way the Dolphins defense looked last week, I'd still would be terrified fantasy purposes.
They're in
Like,
Miami.
not saying I expect the Dolphins
Giants
to
haven't
lose.
even scored yet.
Not saying I expect the Dolphins to lose, but I've seen them give up way too many big plays.
I think that after last week, you see a little bit of Javon Holland had a phenomenal first 3 weeks, and he honestly looked really bad last week. The tight ends were abusing him, I think is the best word for it. So I think that we're going to see stuff like that tighten up. And if Javon Holland's playing at a high level, the rest of the defense will be capable. Same with Cater Kohu. There's nobody that the Giants have that's going to be able to just like rip through the guy that got scored on 3 times by Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs, number 4 for the Dolphins. One of the
Cater
best nickel
Kohu.
corners in the league.
Cater
yeah.
Kohu. Yeah, and that's where I wonder how much that affected Javon's game, is having to compensate
Yeah,
for what was, and that makes me wonder how much that was their game plan, to where we've got Javon over here helping out with Cater on Diggs, and we're going to leave X over here on an island with Gabe Davis. And so I
exactly.
understand that fact, but also though, like, and even non-Dolphins fans were just screaming for it in the third quarter. How do you not put Xavier Howard on Stephon Diggs? Xavier Howard even said after the game he wanted to be on Diggs. He wants to shadow him. He wants to follow him around, but that's just not Fangio's scheme. With it more of a zone scheme, you kind of keep to your side and handle your assignments. And
But if it's not
Cater
working,
just got
you got to
exposed in
switch it
his
up.
this week versus one of the top receivers in the NFL. I mean, that's just
That's
plain and simple.
That's why the season's long, Austin. Fangio's trying to figure out his players just as much as they're trying to figure out the system. What he's capable of doing with them and what they're not capable of. He's got to figure all that out, and you're going to have bumps along the road. I mean, we said it on last week's on the Monday episode that everyone was expecting that the Dolphins were going to finally hit a road bump, and they did. And they now have a bunch of film that's going to show them exactly what they did wrong so that they can fix it.
Well,
That's exactly what they needed
as
to be able to be
as
perfect.
a long-term aspect on that as well, you got to look at it as the Dolphins have had the same defensive mindset from Flores to Josh Boyer for the last 4 years.
Yep.
So Fangio comes in with an entire defense built not for him. So he even said before the season, we've got some pieces in certain places. And, with Javon Holland, obviously, our corners take the Buffalo game aside, Cater Kohu has looked very solid. Xavier Howard speaks for himself, Jalen Ramsey, all of that's great. Christian Wilkins got Zach Sealer. He got paid this year. I think that's, more of a hat tip from Fangio as well. But I think you're going to start seeing, a few guys from the Dolphins this year that's going to shock some people that get let go and not brought back simply so Fangio can bring in guys specific to his scheme. You brought him in for a reason. And if you want him around for this window that you've got here for championship aspirations, I don't be shocked if you see somebody like Christian Wilkins maybe playing for another team this year. As much as I absolutely hate to say it, he's getting outplayed by Zach Sealer this year, and that's just plain and simple. And we saw who got paid.
Yeah. So we do have a matchup going on right now, 7-0 currently. Seattle's winning. But
Snooze
on
fest.
Thursday, we're going to
Snooze
have
fest.
an actual snooze fest. I might not watch the game. I don't know. Chicago's going to
It's pretty
Washington.
bad.
And Washington's favored 7 points. I don't even know how. I guess because they've shown to be a capable football team this year.
They're actual, yeah.
Let me
And
put
the
it this
Bears
way.
haven't.
If you've been neglecting date night with your woman, that's the day to get brownie points.
There we
You
go.
know what, babe? Let me take you out to eat tonight.
No,
I'm gonna skip the game. I'm not
There you
worried
go.
about
Make it a
watching
point.
it. Tonight's all
Yeah.
about you.
Make
And
it a
just
point.
let it be known, because I mean, other than fantasy or betting purposes, no, you ain't gotta watch this. I don't even know how much betting you would do on that unless you're
That's
just
what I'm
betting a
saying.
bunch of unders.
The over-under is 44.5, and I might hit the under on that.
1000%.
Betting that 22 points for both of these teams. We get the Bears' defense is bad, but it's still Thursday night. Quick turnaround. These teams aren't able to prepare for that. Not in a short week. These defenses are going to eat. The only way this game becomes high scoring is if we get defensive touchdowns, which, man, the Cowboys definitely screwed me again this week. I've lost twice now. Of my 4 potential losses for the entire season, twice has been because of the Cowboys defense.
I was one of them.
Yeah.
This week. I wanted to text you so bad too and be like, you thought you had the win because you were projected to win. And
the
then,
whole time.
The whole time, all day long. And even at the end, I was like, man, I really need a big game from the Cowboys defense here. And then just explosion. Oh, thank you.
I saw the first touchdown, and then the second one happened. I was napping, and I woke up for it, and I was like, fuck. Oh,
Thank
no.
you, Matt Jones.
That's not good for the Cowboys team though. Having those defensive scores, we need our offense to get going and show what they are. And it's we only have Pollard and CeeDee Lamb. It's
See, you're saying that, Austin, because of
I haven't seen them
Austin,
produce.
You're
I
saying
would love
that
to see elite defensive play like that. Are you joking me after what I just watched the Dolphins put on film?
Austin, what you're
I
saying
don't
is
care
based
if my
off of the
offense
media.
runs 10 plays if that's what I'm getting.
What the media is saying is that the Cowboys' offense is blah blah blah. That team knows what they're capable
fan
of.
And I'm watching
but that's
the offense.
You guys have watched a 3-1 season. You guys look great.
No, it's not. It's not that. It's Dak looks like absolute garbage, and
he hasn't had to do much, which is exactly what you want from him.
Now, well, I think that's what Austin's getting to, though, is you want Dak to be able to develop some kind of flow and rhythm and chemistry here.
Yet to see it in 4 weeks.
Because, going down the line in the season, it's going to show up to where that offense needs to put up points. And so I do see what he's saying to where you don't want these guys to be able to rely on, oh, well, the defense is more than likely going to get me the ball back versus, no, let's go get some points on the board right here. Not saying they don't try to score, but I do understand what Austin's saying.
So, Austin, did your team make it to one of the championship games last year?
What are you talking about? Cowboys?
Yeah.
No.
You guys were one game away from it. And Have you only put up 3 offensive touchdowns so far this season?
I'd say
No.
so,
You
yeah.
guys have put up more than that. You have.
It feels
The
like
only
only
team
3.
the only team that's put up only 3 offensive touchdowns this season made it to the AFC Championship game last year. The
You're talking about the
Bengals
Bengals?
are an
Yeah, they look like
actual
absolute.
embarrassment.
So
They
are they
That's what I'm
done?
saying
Like,
though.
is their
But
season
we
done
know that they
as
have
far
an
as
injury over there with
playoff
their
outlook?
quarterback, though. We know he
And
came
as
into
far
the
as
season
Then
with
take
playoff
an
him off
injury.
the
outlook,
field.
as far as
I
playoff
get it.
outlook,
I don't
I
want to
think
hear
so.
like, oh, our quarterback's playing hurt if you're playing them the whole damn game. Like,
Yeah, bro,
okay,
for
yeah,
real, take him
that's
out.
fine and dandy, but take
But
him out then.
you know Joe Burrow, and you know this isn't him. You know, like, bro, 3 points in the
But no,
game
but
against the
I
Tennessee
don't.
Titans.
what
That's
I'm
on me.
saying though
I
is
bet on
a
the
1-3
Bengals.
season
That's
in
on
that
me.
division and in the AFC. Like at this point, a quarter way through, like you hate to say it, like
You're done.
they have a very steep hill to climb here in order to have any hopes of making it back to the playoffs. Like
This is
they
part
might
of
be one of those teams in that percentage that missed the playoffs after
Their
making it. the
division
year
looks way
before.
too good.
so
That's what I'm
this is
saying, bro.
this is part of the problem that I have with us crowning these super young players as like superstars right away. Peyton Manning was legitimately amazing for 10 straight years. He did it every single year. Without question, he started off amazing, he ended amazing. He might have had a couple of hiccup games here and there, but he wasn't going to have a 4-game stretch of being ass. So I'm just like, I get that in the social media age, everything's quick and we want to make it sure it happens right away. Patrick Mahomes is the only quarterback that I think right now is an elite top tier quarterback, and it's safe that he'll be an elite top tier quarterback for the rest of his career. Everybody else has some sort of question mark, some up or down, some smudge on them that they're not at that level of Tom, Aaron, Peyton. Like, it's
So you're naming those exact guys I wanted to talk about. Mention this, like, the era of the NFL that we knew is like over. Once Aaron went
is.
down, like Tom, those
Yeah, we're
exact
in the
guys
next
you mentioned,
generation,
like, it's
100% now.
Matt Ryan,
100%.
Philip Rivers, all gone. Everybody's
Manning,
gone.
Even
like,
Eli Manning,
That
like,
whole
you know what I'm saying?
2003 draft class that we watched yeah, we're done. We are old now, bro. Like it is the next
Yep.
generation here. And I
Yep.
mean, Joe Burrow, like injury or not,
He
like I
shows the
said, he's
glimpses
out
of those
there.
type quarterbacks, though.
But for so far this season through 4 games, you're looking at 57% completion percentage, 728 yards, 2
Yuck.
touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Like you just like that is not
And
like
that's
gonna get it done.
and that really
Yes, we've seen
sucks
it out of Joe, and
for
I trust him to be able to flip the switch and turn it back on. But you're just wondering at some point in this season, it's going to become too little, too late, and you just got washed by the Tennessee Titans. Like so,
Yeah.
yeah. I just for me like even their win versus the Rams wasn't impressive. Like so for me, it's
And the
as
Rams
a
have
Bengals
looked
fan, I'm honestly just kind of depressed on the season because it does not look good for your playoff hopes. You're looking for a run, and I'm talking you're gonna need to rattle off 7, 8, 9 in a row.
at this point. Do you guys start to sit Joe Burrow until he's fully healthy? Like sit him until he gets his
Yep.
calf up to. Like I don't see any reason to start him.
sit him
You're
till
gonna
I see-
re-aggravate.
I sit him till I see Joe cool again.
Yeah.
Well, what about Jamar Chase? I mean, you spent the second overall.
He's
pick on
always
this
open.
man.
He's always open. He's gonna get the ball. Like they're gonna, you know what I'm saying? Like there's, you just keep whoever's gonna be quarterback is gonna have to get the ball to that guy. Like that's
Yeah.
part of it.
Well, and yeah, like you said too, like Austin, and that's the big kicker is you drafted him top 3, top
can't
5
even trade
at
him away.
worst. Like
I think he
he's
was-
non-droppable.
Yeah.
You can't trade him away because
Wasn't it
nobody's gonna
Kyle
give you
Pitts,
actual
Jamar Chase,
value.
Jalen Waddle back to back to back?
Yeah.
4, 5, and
said-
6.
Yep. Or 3,
Penny Sewell might
3,
have
4,
gone.
5. Yeah, no, it was Penei
Yeah.
Sewell at 5 and then Waddle at 6. But so yeah, you have to start him. And like Coach said, He's the number one target. T. Higgins is now battling a rib injury. So Tyler
He's always
Boyd,
battling something.
waiver wire target there.
Yeah, he's absolutely worth at least rostering. He's gonna be a target guy. He's not gonna get a lot of yards. He might
What
get a
happened in
touchdown.
this Seahawks game? I see Drew Lock warming up.
Geno's went down with a knee.
Geno got
looks like.
messed up on the sideline,
Oh no.
and then he was like
Yeah,
trying
we're
to fight
watching it right
players
now.
after. He wasn't trying to fight. He was just like saying some stuff to the other
Isaiah
player,
Simmons like rolled up on him basically,
Oh,
like on the sideline for no reason.
Yeah.
oh,
Drew Lock looks scared.
Yeah.
Give
So-
the ball to Kenneth.
Drew Lock ain't scared, bro.
Hey,
he's better.
we're throwing
he's
it.
better than
No.
Zach Wilson.
Bro,
Oof.
Drew Lock looks solid in the preseason now. I know it's preseason, but Drew Lock's another
You know what,
one
Austin?
like Zach Wilson, to where he's got the talent, and he kind of looks like Zach Wilson out here rocking number 2, like the whole thing,
Straight up.
Yeah,
arm sleeve.
he only
But
needs to lose 3
he's
more
got-
games, and
he's
they've got the same record.
Talent. So yeah, I mean, hey, let's see what you got here.
Dude,
Austin,
that's-
on your point that you were making before the show about Jackson Smith and Jigba, Drew Lock probably did a lot of work with Jackson Smith because of them
Yeah.
being on the twos. I bet you he gets a little bit more target. He already got a target on the first throw I saw from Drew. So I bet you he gets the targets at least. We'll see if it equates to yards and catches.
Yeah, I definitely like that. You would have liked to see it out of Geno with what Geno was saying last week. He still is yet to like really throw it to him. I saw one reception for Jackson. It was for 2 yards, and like,
Gino's asking for his helmet. I think he's good. I think Gino's good.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
so
yo,
too. I saw
we'd
him
love
get
to
all
see
pissed
that.
and yelling.
Colby
Geno.
needs Geno.
Yes, I do. I need it
Ooh,
bad.
nice little scramble from Drew.
But yeah, guys, if for all your tea needs, go to TulsiRoseTea.com. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, hit the socials, and all that nonsense. Thanks for joining us again. We're going to have another episode on Friday, and then every Sunday, 1 hour before kickoffs for the 1 o'clock games, we're going to do probably about a 45-minute episode is the idea. Just start and sit advice. You guys can join in live. So leave us a like. Let us know what you guys want to see next week. And peace.